Hello, I Anand Jain from Hanumangarh, Rajasthan welcomes you to your favorite Sridevi Classes YouTube channel where we inculcate interest and confidence in science and engineering subjects. Today in our playlist, Electrical Estimation, we'll understand public procurement process and understand the functioning of purchase team and how for procurement we use tender process and what are different type of tender. So let's start procurement and tender or type of tender. Most optimum utilization of financial resources and value addition is the key object of any project execution. Now tendering process is the most effective way to get competitive rates for supply of raw materials, product or services. Now tendering is a process by which both private and government institution can solicit bids from vendors to supply raw materials, products or services for a specific project or specific procurement. Now that project or procurement should be completed within a specific time frame and tender is initial activity for that procurement process. In both public as well as private procurement, the procuring entity is responsible and accountable to ensure efficient, economic and transparent procurement process. Now this transparency is more important when it is a public procurement. Procuring entity is also accountable to provide fair and equitable treatment to all bidders or suppliers so that the best deliverable can be provided by those bidders and suppliers. Procuring entity has to promote competition and prevent all corrupt practices so that economy and efficiency of the process can be ensured. Procuring entity is also accountable to ensure only those procurement which actually are required, which are need based and are quality procurement. Fancy, luxurious, not required quantity should not be procured in any procurement process. That should be ensured by procuring entity. Now the procuring entity is also responsible to record and prepare documentation for each stage of procurement process. Before starting any procurement process, procuring entity shall first determine the need or requirement for each of the item of goods, works or services that are required basically and to be procured, and procuring entity has to prepare and maintain all the relevant document for that requirement. Now once the requirement is prepared for the procurement process, procuring entity should generate a unique bid number UBN. Now that UBN shall be used for tracking of the procurement process during and after the bid process and for transparent, efficient and economic procurement. Every procuring entity, the officer who perform procurement activity have to constitute one procuring committee consisting of 3 or more persons of technical and financial background. Now this committee has to prepare the bidding document with all the scope parameter of procurement. Now the team will open all the bids which different supplier submit. Now the evaluation of those bids is also done by purchase committee. Purchase committee also monitor the contract between procuring entity and the contractor who supply goods services. The purchase committee can also make spot purchases if required. They can also work for competitive negotiation among different bidders, and any other purpose that is related to procurement process is also done by purchase committee only. The key responsibility of purchase committee are as follows. Purchase committee has to perform market surveys so that what best option available for procurement can be assessed. Purchase committee has to decide reasonableness of the rates for the procurement purpose. So they have to estimate rates for the procurement. All quality specification, technical and financial details are developed by the work of purchase committee. Purchase committee also identify appropriate supplier so that procurement process can be executed efficiently and economically. And in the end, purchase committee is responsible to produce a joint certification of satisfaction that goods recommended for purchase by purchase committee are of requisite specification and quality, and the price quoted for that product are as per prevailing market rate, and the supplier which they have recommended are reliable and competent to supply the goods which are required, and those suppliers are eligible and not debarred by any parallel organization for similar type of supplies. Various award procedure or methods to prepare purchase order are available under government finance rules. All government department and offices may directly procure goods from supplier which are on rate contract as concluded by CPO, Central Purchase Organization. Now in rate contract items, the prices to be paid for those goods shall not exceed from the limit those stipulated in the rate contract itself, and the purchase process has to follow other terms and condition of purchase as mentioned in rate contract. So rate contracted item can be purchased directly from supplier which are registered in CPO on rate contract by government departments, and no other formalities is required, and both prices and terms and condition for supply are already mentioned in rate contract. Many a times private entities can purchase goods from market without any quotation, and the same procedure can be adopted by public organization or government too in special cases, but for that goods of the value only up to 25,000 may be purchased without inviting quotation or bids. But for that sake, a certificate is to be recorded by the competent authority who is empowered to make such procurement, and in that certificate it is to be recorded that goods purchased are of requisite quality and specification, and they are purchased from a reliable supplier, that too at reasonable price. So after only that certificate, such procurement can be made by any public organization. Now such purchase of goods without quotation or tender process is an extraordinary method and exceptional way to make procurement, and generally avoided. Such process of purchase of goods without quotation is in general used only when goods and services are of low monetary value, less than 25,000, but the purchase become either an emergency or the purchase entity wants to save time and effort for the purchase of those items. Open tender procurement process is the most effective way to get competitive prices for supply of raw material products or services. The notice inviting tender for the purchase of goods valued above 25,000 needs wider publicity, and at least one state level newspaper and one local daily newspaper having wide circulation is used for that publicity. Departmental website, social media platforms, and government procurement portal all are used for this. Now the central government use e-procure portal of Government of India, Center Public Procurement Portal with URL as highlighted here. Similarly, state government of Rajasthan use a state public procurement portal with URL as highlighted here. Now on those portals and departmental website and also in daily newspaper, NIT is published and procurement process is followed as per set procedure of public procurement. Now in this open tender process, at least 3-week time from the date of publication of bid is given to supplier to submit their bid proposals, and then a scheduled stipulated procedure is followed to execute procurement process and issue of letter of award or purchase order to qualified bidder. In one other video of the same playlist, we have discussed the purchase process through open tender in full detail. In some special conditions, purchase can be made by only a single tender, and this is a condition if only a particular firm is manufacturer of that supply or sole distributor for that supply, then we can make purchase by single tender. Sometimes when need is very emergent and immediately we have to procure things, or the need is quite technical. Then procurement can be made from single tender, which is of key supplier. Now this single tender process have some advantage. It will reduce cost of procurement, improve supply chain management. The services as customer we receive will also improve, and this will make turnaround time faster. But such single tender won't have any transparency, and many a times for economy and transparency, public procurement avoid such single tender procedure. Many a times private organization and sometimes government public organization use limited tender procurement process. This limited bidding method may be adopted if the value of procurement or subject matter is less than rupee 2 lakhs in one occasion, and it shall not exceed rupee 10 lakh in one financial year. Now these monetary limits will not exist on private procurement. They exist only on public procurement process. In public procurement process, it is also mentioned that one should not divide work and bring cost amount less than 2 lakh just to get advantage of limited tender procedure. If the amount is more than 2 lakhs, one should go for open tender procurement process. Now in limited tender procurement process, the procuring entity shall issue invitation to bid for supplies by exhibiting the invitation on state or central government procurement portal. The URL for central government public procurement portal is as highlighted here, and in this Shan highlight, the URL of state government of Rajasthan public procurement portal is highlighted. Apart from exhibition on public procurement portal and official website, the bid invitation in writing directly sent to all registered prospective supplier who fulfill the qualification criteria by speed post or registered post or by courier or by email or social media post. In this limited tender procurement process, other eligible supplier who get information from official website or office notice board or by social media advertisement or from government public procurement portal can also submit their bids, whether an invitation to bid has been issued to such bidders or not by the procurement entity. Now in this limited tender procurement process, there is no earnest money or bid security amount, and usually a sufficient time of at least 2 weeks should be given to all supplier for bid submission. Now in limited tender procurement process, the minimum required number of supplier firm must be more than or equal to 3, and those 3 firms should be genuine and real. There should not be any fictitious firm bidding in this limited tender process, and that should be checked by procurement entity only. We hope by this learning video you could explain requirement of public procurement and responsibilities and duties of purchase team in any public procurement entity. This video has also explained the different type of tender such as single tender, limited tender and open tender. For appropriate procurement process, we will explain detailed purchase process by open tender in one another video of the same playlist. And if you found these works useful, do use it in your studies and share the same with your friends. Happy learning. Have nice time. Thank you very much.